start it?
Yeah.
Because we're just talking.
So it's like I see it as like a room, right? So everyone that's single, you're in a room, and there's just like different like long hallways that go into different directions, and I feel like there's like, the wedding like
one
aisle,
hallway.
it's just little narrower hallway that people go down,
Narrow.
And then there's like career, people go down a career opportunity, or just staying single. Some people just like staying in that room, that single room. And I think it's just like a lot of people just don't show interest in that room, or what's in there, where that road leads to. But it's like when you sort of, you're friends with someone like that, and then you go down that route, and then they see, it's like, not like you're on a pedestal, but then it's like your life changes in a certain way, and it's like, oh, I haven't seen that side of him. They don't know what's going on inside them, but it's like a little feeling they don't really like. And then, okay, they're engaged, or, oh, he's got a partner, etc. Okay, whatever. I've had partners all the time, whatever. Oh, he's getting engaged. Okay. We wouldn't talk about.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that wasn't in our plans. It was like bro holidays for life and stuff,
Yeah.
And then you go down and it's like, oh, we're actually getting married. Oh, this, this is my planning. Listen, the person that's still single, you're involving them. You've been friends with them for a long time, and then it's like, I want you to be my best man. I want you to, these are the roles. And some people crumble at that point there, it makes them think about where they are, what they're going.
Should we just stop there? Because I think that there's a lot of, obviously we're kind of in wedding season.
Yeah.
At the minute, it's summer. I'm sure everyone's got their outfits planned for weddings that they're going to go to. But I think obviously having been on both sides of the coin, like I've been the bridesmaid, but I've also been the bride as well. Like I think that there's so much in, like, I feel like people turn into like a whole other person. Like,
well, from both sides sometimes, I guess. Some
I mean, I don't know.
Is it grooms? Do even grooms
I didn't think that men done that, but maybe they do. I don't know if you've experienced that before. But I think
women are bridezillas and men turns.
Yeah, but I think for me, like one of the things when I was getting married was I was like, I don't want to be that. I was seeing it so badly that I was like, I really don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And like I chose to plan my own wedding, but I was like, there's just no need to be horrible to people. Like I just think it's not necessary. And yes, there's pressure, and obviously you're trying to, most people have never planned an event to that capacity before in their life. But I just think that we've got to kind of get out of the culture where it's okay to just be mean.
I've never seen that before. Obviously I got married at 18. You lot were not even in our minds yet. And so for me it was like my mom arranged it also. I just didn't have that. And I've never seen it, and it's only like in later years now. And obviously you helped me plan our 40th wedding anniversary. So it was just literally, we were the wedding planner. We sourced everything, and literally we had no one to oversee the event, and we're getting big.
I remember going in a taxi from the hotel to the venue to oversee to make sure everything was.
Because I remember we got your makeup done quick so you could run to the venue. But I'd seen so many of that personalities, talk about personalities changing, and so I'd seen that, and I didn't want that to be in my space. And I remember we had worship music on, and it was just peaceful. Everyone was calm, and even the makeup artist and the hairstylist, everyone was like, it's so peaceful in here. But it was something that we wanted to cultivate, and it's possible, right?
I think it comes down to a lack of preparation. I think that when you leave everything till the last minute, I think that is gonna put stress. That's gonna force everyone to be stressed out. And I think that obviously, like, actually it's not just about you, and I think that's the mistake a lot of people make when it comes to their wedding. They really feel like it's just about them and it's their day, and I get that, but actually this is a day for all your family and all your friends. And I think that the reality is what is the feeling that they're going to leave with after your day? You know, like I've been to weddings where I was a bridesmaid and you're just like, oh, this doesn't actually feel very nice, because you're there smiling now, but you're being like this monster. Like,
but I guess you can get so caught up in yourself that you forget the dynamics of the feelings that everyone is going through. Because I know one of the things I often say to brides is, don't forget your mom, because I'm watching the mothers, and it's not just those happy tears. Yes, you want your child to find love, to find marriage, but I said for a mother, it's like a bereavement. You literally feel like you're losing a child, and at that moment, it doesn't feel like, oh well, I'm gaining a son.
Was that with both male and female, like son and daughter, or was that more so?
I think so. There is that. I think probably more so with a daughter. I'm just talking from my own personal. It's like when it's your daughter. But I guess some mothers, if it depends on your relationship with your son, and it depends again on who your son is marrying. Because sometimes the girl is
your morning.
You don't have that relationship anyway, and then you're gonna feel like there's something in you that feels like she's gonna take him away. And every parent, you don't really want to lose your kids, and that's the reality. You want, yes, they got married, but you still want that family connection. And I often say to girls, don't forget your mom, especially leading up. Spend some time walking through, just doing mother and daughter stuff, because you're leaving her, especially if you've lived at home. Nowadays the girls have their own places, but if you're someone that lives at home, think about how that's going to make her feel that emptiness syndrome. It's that void that you're not coming back. And also if you've got siblings, I've seen that with sisters. It's like one sister gets married, and I see that loss that the other sister or the other siblings feel, because they're not coming back home again. They're not coming back like they did they used to before. So there is those other feelings to take into consideration. But I've got a funny story. It was like probably one of the most awful weddings. It was a friend, and we went to her wedding in America, and it was in Florida. I hope I'm not giving away too much. No one should guess. It was in Florida, and it was an outdoor wedding in Florida. It was so hot, and there's no shade. There's no marquee. We're all out in the heat. So that was bad enough in itself, but we were helping. And like you said, they turn into that bridezilla because there's no organization. Number one, there was a whole group of people that she'd invited to her wedding from her church, and so they thought they were coming as guests. They were all dressed up, and she had them working. When they got there, she hadn't got the staff to do the catering and to do, so they literally was in their dressed up clothes, and she put them in the kitchen, and she had them doing food, and they really were upset. By the end of the night, they were like, they were like, we're not coming back. But then she started like just throwing down this tantrum. So she'd bought a dress that's probably 2 sizes too small, and then we were to fit in. We were told to get her into this dress. So there's one person pulling one side of the dress and the other person. So we're trying to get the dress to meet. So the only way it's going to meet is if what's inside is like pushed out. So all of this back fat went up, and it's like hanging over. And she's telling me and I'm like, I don't want to hurt you. I've got nails, because my nails are quite long. She's like, just stuff that sucker in.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I was her friend, not the groom's. I'd only met him on like 1 or 2 occasions. And I felt like running outside and say to him, don't do it. Don't do it. I've just seen this other side of her that I didn't know before. Everything in me, even his daughters turned up in black for his wedding. He'd been married before. Wow. And I wanted to say, don't do it, because she was just this whole other person that was so horrible, and she disregarded everybody's feelings.
Okay, so I have a question for you both.
Okay.
Because I get asked this a lot, I think, especially from single girls, is how do you know that the person that you're marrying is the right person? Because I think that, if you've ever dated before, I know some people have been engaged multiple times. How do you know? And I think that's a question that a lot of single people ask. How do you know that this is, out of all the people in the whole entire world that you'll ever meet? And I think because we live in a world as well where commitment people don't commit that easily, and there's always like almost looking for the next best thing. Like, what would you say was your defining moment that you knew, okay, this is the person that I'm supposed to do life with?
I think for me, I mean, it's going back a bit, but it was that immediate connect. There was an immediate connect, and it was literally like, even though we just met, it was this, we had to speak every day. And, you know, this is back when no mobile phones were there. So it was him calling me wherever I am, calling me at work from his boss's office. He would run around after work every day to my parents' house, because I was still living at home, to see me. And it literally was this feeling like we can't live without each other. And that's not to say that we didn't have the arguments and the disagreements and the, you know, differences of opinion. All of that was there, but it was just this immediate connect. That's my personal experience. It was an immediate connect that this is the one. And because we just went immediately. We were thinking marriage, and I'm like 17. He's 18. And so we met in December and we were married in April.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a very short courtship, but it was just this, like, we just didn't want to be separate. It's just really strange. It's hard to describe unless you've experienced that. But it was an immediate connect that we had for each other. We both changed immediately, both dropped friends, partying, going out. Suddenly, all of that, we stopped immediately. No one said, "Oh, you need to stop doing that." We just didn't want to do any of the other stuff, and we just spent a lot of time together from there.
Do you believe the one is a real thing? Like,
I do.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in life,
maybe it's not for everybody, but I feel for me, because if anything ever happened to your dad, there isn't an option of a second.
I agree with that. But I mean, in terms of if you didn't come back from Jamaica or you went to America instead and you found someone, you don't think that you'd feel the same way in that situation if it was right and it lasted as long as this one did?
I look at it differently. I look at that God moved him from where he was, me from where I was, and put us in the same place that we met, because it was just, I could have gone, my dad could have chosen America.
Yeah.
His family could have chosen Canada, because that's where all his dad's family went. My dad's family, and he was actually living in America for a while. So my family, so we would have never met. It would have been Canada and America. We would have never met.
You never know.
And then
you never know. It might have been later in life. Might not have been the same age, but.
But then it's the same area, and we actually grew up in the same area. And it wasn't until later in life that we actually met each other. We literally lived down the road from each other, walking distance.
Yeah.
But we didn't even realize until, I guess, the right time.
I feel like I personally think that I think that God's gracious enough to if you miss that, I don't think it's like now you're written off for life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you think there's the one like that you must align yourself with?
I think if you miss that one for whatever reason.
How many ones do you think there were?
No, so I think there's windows
throughout life. There's like obviously there's
no, but I think it's about purpose, and I think that I think God's created us with purpose. So I think that it's not just there's not everyone that you can fulfill what you're supposed to do with. Like that's not just anybody, And the reality is that God will put people together in order to fulfill that purpose that you're supposed to walk out. And I think that can't just happen with anybody. I think he's gracious enough that if you missed it or if that person missed it, because it's got to obviously be both people willing to come together to make that happen, then I think that he's gracious enough to give you somebody else or give you the grace to be single, whichever. But I think I do believe that there is the one. I
think there is something that you sort of, well, for me, it's like you knew that this was different in terms of, well, first of all, my mindset was different anyway when I was actually ready to meet Dish beforehand. But I think when you're with each other and you can feel that, it's like, it's just easy. That's like the first layer of it, I'd say. And over time, obviously, there's different parts. You see if you can build with someone, you see if your goals align or what they want in life, and how easy it is to even, align your goals together. if everything always like you've been together 5 years and every step feels like it's a battle, then that's usually a sign that you're not. It's like two magnets. You either repel or you're attracted.
And that's the way I would describe it when you meet the person.
It's that magnet.
Literally like
you held two magnets opposite, and it's like it pushes away from each other.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what I always say. I think that it's like obviously he's made you soulmate, so it's like your souls are literally drawn to each other.
Comfortable in silence. You're comfortable
we were just comfortable with each other. There was no pretending.
So you're always with each other.
I mean, the only thing, like for me at the beginning, was being shy, being a bit shy, and just being self-conscious. In like if we went out for a dinner, it's still I'm really young,
you're
so
very
it's all
young.
You have to grow together. Though.
Yeah,
I think that's what's beautiful about when it is the one.
Yeah.
I think that when you start to grow together and you everyone has those silly arguments at the beginning because you're obviously learning to live with each other and. Small things, like obviously everyone has a way of doing things, but I think actually when you find your rhythm and you actually, learn to communicate effectively, then I think that's when you hit the sweet spot. Like I think that's where it's like, okay, like this is actually lovely. And I actually feel really sorry for people that don't ever get to experience that, because I'm like, when marriage is right, like it's so lovely. Like it's just it's actually a really beautiful thing.
But it's the opposite as well.
But then I get that there is
of course, but it's
the other end of the spectrum.
There's got to be a willingness to learn and appreciate that you're both different. And some people's got strengths and weaknesses in other things, but learning where you fit in the mold of each other, I think that's.
But that takes a minute.
Yeah, of course. But people think you move in and it's just like
it doesn't. It doesn't go that way. It's taking
there's a lot of sparks to fuse together.
There's a lot of sparks.
Yeah.
And as long as you're an individual, and I think that's what I love about your dad is that he recognizes that I'm different to him, and he's not trying to make me him.
That's what you have to. You're not trying to make a female version of you or a male version of you.
Exactly.
You learn that to appreciate that people are different. So
and even though we're both very strong-willed and very strong charactered, but there are things that I will do that he wouldn't even dream of doing.
But there's even things that you might like just doing by yourself. Some people I have to be with you with everything. And like for me, I've like even when I lived by myself for however long, but I felt like I was more of an only child as the age gap, and I was the only boy. But in a sense where I enjoy my own company, you know what I mean? So sometimes I just like being by myself. Like it's not like I don't want to be with you, but it's like sometimes like I like just to be able to just chill by myself, whatever. And it's just understanding you might not like that, but we're just different. So whatever, if you want, there's some things that I can give you your time to do whatever. I have no problem with that.
But I feel like this generation though that we live in, people don't actually almost get to discover that, because it's just so easy now to get divorced. It's just so easy.
I think because relationships are a lot more surface level. Yeah,
it's so easy to to entertain somebody else on the side. It's so easy to have, you have these sayings like side chicks and side piece and whatever. Like it's so easy to not be committed. You've got literally you've got married people that are on Tinder and all these other dating websites when they're actually married.
But I think people get married for aesthetic. Looking for something.
But that's what I'm saying. It's learning to get to that place of satisfaction and contentment where actually, you know what, I'm doing life with this person, and it's not about the aesthetics of what that person looks like or if it's Instagrammable or whatever. The reality is it doesn't matter what you put out there on social media. It's what happens in your home that really counts. And we can all make our surface look pretty and
that's
cute.
What everyone's is about now.
Exactly,
media.
But the reality
how it looks
is
rather than what
that
it is.
There's no point. You're only fooling yourself at the end of the day, because if you're portraying this whole thing and then at home you're actually at war with each other.
That's never going to last.
But if you see it as an influencer, they see it as they make money together from the brand of the family or however they look.
You see it so many
and
times.
at home you don't even talk if you're not recording something or taking pictures about something. It's probably more toxic to be in the light as a family than it is to just You know,
I remember going to I went for brunch with some of the girls once, and we were sat next to a couple that were on the table next to us, and no lie, like we must have been there for about 2 hours. They did not speak one word to each other.
I've seen loads
they literally
of that.
Like were taking pictures of each other, selfieing, literally like they had the camera, the phone propped up on a stand, like literally filming like themselves while they're eating. It's just like, I was like, wow, we are living such a shallow world. Like, it's actually unreal, like how shallow it is.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that will never experience true happiness, never experience true love, because they actually don't know how to go deep. Yeah. Like, they actually don't know how to go beyond the surface
level.
Yeah.
Even to have those conversations, and you know, when like, even though that's just repeat the Love Island thing, like it's like
it's so silly.
Where they're in this little villa.
They actually don't want love. They just want fame.
But they're in the house for like 2 weeks together.
Oh, I love you.
I'm really falling for you. Like, I really love you. You know? I think I'm gonna drop the L word and all that. Yeah, it's like it's so stupid. Listen, let's see if they get out of this house. And
you not got time to watch this.
No, it's like
it's just sometimes you need like your text really like.
But it's just like the things that they like. I get it. You're in an enclosed space with certain people for a amount of time, whatever. Yeah, but it's like as soon as you step out of there, you're seeing other people. Your head's this way. You're walking out with new fame now. Yeah. Everyone's taking pictures of you, whatever. That's why these things don't last.
But don't you feel like that's the culture that's being duplicated and passed on to our next generation?
And this is what they
I feel for our kids, because I'm like,
what examples are they going to have?
What on earth are you?
If they don't see us,
you know what? The difference is that our kids are growing up in a home. You know,
who are they going to marry? Like, because
are they going to have that mindset as well?
Well, not necessarily, because they're seeing a difference to how you're raising.
Yeah, but even
them.
where, so like, for me, example, Kadisha comes from that same place of mum and dad, Caribbean sort of culture, very similar to how we've grown up. Both parents were in the picture. You know, it's very there's not much. Yes, there's different ways we've grown up, but it's like in terms of us raising children, it's not like A to Z. You know what I mean? There's a lot of similarities. Yeah. But whereas if our kids came now from growing up how we've raised them, and then this one's mum had OnlyFans and this one's whatever, you know what I mean? Like when you're thinking about when they're 25, God knows what they're going to be marrying into, whatever the case is. It's going to be like, basically how we grow up is going to be very few and far compared to what
we're like the last
but
generation.
You know, but you were drawn to, because that's one of the first things you said to me.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it's easy to find.
No, it's not, but you looked, that was one of the things that ticked a major box.
Yeah, it ticked a box,
because I remember you saying she's from the same type of upbringing as me, so that was a big box for you. You weren't going to marry that girl that's like, you got out for dinner, she's not talking to you, but she's selfieing herself and her food. I mean, there were times you lot tried to matchmake him and it didn't work. We're like, well, she's pretty.
But it's just like, all that stuff doesn't bother me in terms of like looks wise. It's like, it's like if I see a whole different side of you, you're a bit crazy, but I don't care what you look like.
But looks are so, and nowadays it's like everyone's altering their looks, so you can't even take that for face value anyway.
You know,
like there's,
I've seen this new thing
everyone
now.
has got
Have you seen this thing where it's a surgery. It changes your eye colour.
Yeah. You can do eye colour.
So but it's
so
like
many things.
You can think, oh, I'm marrying this guy. He's got green eyes.
I've seen like 70-year-old women getting surgeries and they look like 30.
Yeah,
again.
but there's the men that do the hair transport.
I saw the musician. There's a Latino musician who's like performing, and you know the smoke things that shoot up in the air.
Oh, no.
He stood over it. His hair was like that. I said, this is wicked.
No, but they actually do ones now where it's actually, glued.
Yes, that's what it is. It was glued.
Oh, and it lifted?
I'll show you.
Yeah, but the reality is, though, is like, what do people even really look like now? Like, it's such a
that's the thing. It's
world.
like,
that's the thing. We were on holiday recently, and there was this girl. I don't know if she was scared she'd get deflated in the ocean. Because she had her bottom done, and she's.
I think when we went on holiday to Jamaica, there was one.
Oh gosh, she kept walking around. She had her boobs and her bum done.
Yeah. That's just not even.
I mean, you can see that it's not. She wasn't born that way.
I saw a video in Turkey where they're all in a surgery room. None of them can sit down, all sitting on their knees in the.
Well, I saw this advert. It was like the arrivals, coming back. And so they were like,
hairline and
where'd you
don't like you.
That doesn't look like you. Where you come from? Oh yeah,
they let you go.
They let you through because everyone knows you're going to come back looking different to your passport picture if you're coming from Turkey. It's crazy, but it's such a fake world, and it's scary. I think it's scary because it's like, what are you marrying?
No one's lived out to see what it looks like.
When it all drops.
Well, you don't see like Pamela Anderson and all Kate. What's her name? Katie Price.
They were the original.
They've been resurrected and killed like 5 times.
Resurrected.
But Pamela Anderson doesn't wear makeup anymore. She does this whole thing where she doesn't wear makeup.
Yeah, well, more so Katie Price. She's just like.
Yeah. It's a very sad world.
Like the prototype for surgery. Like,
it's a very sad world. Like, why people think that they have to do that. I just don't think that's. I think that there's just something so nice about being genuine and authentic.
But I think as well as girls, I think we can, we get kind of getting off from the whole wedding thing. But I think as girls, it's, we think, I don't know, we think this looks nice.
Yeah.
And we think that's what men want.
Yeah.
And I saw a man post this post and he said, Can the girls all stop this? Number one, you're going to blind yourself because all that glue stuff going into your eyes. And we don't like it. We don't like all the fake stuff. And,
as like the hair extension stuff, you don't see where the hair comes from.
Yeah, there's one I saw. I can't remember.
It's like the women put all their burdens, like in India, they like put all their worries and things into their head, and they cut off their hair. And you look back, put wire up in your head.
They talk about this.
Don't do that,
Yeah, they talk about that. They give it as a sacrifice.
Yeah, I've seen
to their gods because for whatever to remove a curse. I can't remember. So all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But it's a lot of men don't want the fake, and I think for me, one of the things when we were dating before I married your dad, I wanted us to be totally, this is who we are. So that he wasn't, from my perspective, I didn't want him to marry somebody and find out, can you imagine if he found out that, that's not your real hair, or that's not what you really look like. You had surgery, and so when our kids are born, it's like, whose child is that? Because it doesn't look like neither of us. But I think that's so important, and I think everyone can work with what they have and make it look its best without it going OTT where it's so fake now.
But what if we went a little bit deeper, like on what you were saying, and like if there's things that are not disclosed before the marriage, like people that take secrets into marriage.
Yeah.
Like,
I was a man and I had surgery.
Whoa. Yeah, but I think it could be.
You better stay.
And I think we talk about red flags, and we spoke about red flags.
It happens.
But what if you don't see the red flags, obviously, before? And people are very good at hiding things nowadays, and like I think for me that's really concerning. That actually, if you go into a marriage and actually you're not disclosing your full truth,
it's really dangerous.
At the end of the day, it's how do you navigate that? Because it is so easy to almost be another person.
I was gonna say, I think it's gonna get worse, to be honest, because everyone's all about perception and what they see.
Yeah,
and people don't want to reveal,
and they don't even open up to their partners. Let alone, for them, it's like such a thing to keep, whether it's finances or situation or what they do or whatever they. Or their background life,
Do you owe somebody?
I'm actually glad I'm married now because I can't even actually imagine being out here.
But there's
even I talk to my friend, it's like this. It's hard out here, It's like finding someone. It's like I get it in that sense. It's like something told me to get out anyway.
But I know this girl. She married this guy, and he knew he wasn't well. His family all knew that he wasn't well, and no one told her or her family.
So what did he have?
So he wasn't well mentally.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was very well hidden. And it started to, I guess there may have been tiny hints, but you don't kind of think, I'm dating somebody and they have a mental issue here. Yeah. And so the first sign of him beginning to unravel was just getting a dog before children came. So started with the pet, and he couldn't handle it. Yeah. It was just that began to throw him. I don't think she recognized still that there was a problem. Then it was the first child came, and that really kind of flipped him now, and he's taking longer to come back, and his behavior is getting more erratic. And then by the second child, he's totally unraveled and totally freaked out.
Now you've really got two kids.
She went as far as having 3 children for him, and it was then. I remember speaking to her dad, and he was so angry that the family knew he had a history. He is diagnosed. It's not something they just, come to the assumption. He was actually diagnosed with a mental disorder, and no one chose to inform the family of it. I mean, they're divorced now, but it was just, he got to the point where it's almost like dangerous. But that's a pretty serious thing. I would imagine. I would want to know, because that's a make or break.
I mean, I remember watching I don't know if you've seen that documentary on Netflix with the footballer where he passed away, but he basically had like this whole other life.
Oh wow.
He became a footballer, and then he met this girl. They got married and they had some children. And then he basically couldn't find a deal in the UK, so he'd gone to different clubs. So I think he managed to get a deal, I think in Turkey or one of those Arab countries. And so he went out there to play football. While she's at home looking after the kids, he's now got engaged and got married to another woman.
In another country?
In another country, in Turkey, and is living this whole other life. And then
it's hard enough for one life.
And then so she said, right, enough is enough. I'm coming. I think they were in Dubai. So she's like, she basically just showed up in Dubai with the kids, and his mother was there, and his mother introduced his wife to this woman that apparently is her friend, all the while knowing that this is his other wife. So then when
the mother was in on it,
covering
for him.
So then obviously he then was involved in a car accident. His car basically exploded after he dropped the kids to school one day on a school run, and that's when this whole thing came out that he's actually.
Did he die?
He died. But obviously,
lucky he didn't have to face them.
Obviously, there's now this whole thing where you've got 2 women, and actually, the other woman, I was like, she just needs to sit down because
you actually. A movie?
No, it's a documentary.
It's a documentary.
I was like, you actually just need to sit down because you don't have no rights. Like,
but that's a point of view thing.
That is just ridiculous.
Yeah, but she doesn't know. But
you know that he's got 3 children and a wife.
She knew that.
She knew that.
Oh, the second one that he married.
In some it depends what culture it is. Some of them are.
I was just like, I don't rate you at all. Like, that was just. But I'm just saying, like, when you get married, you think that's it. You're getting married for better, for worse. It's sickness in hell.
You know how worse is.
Actually, you don't really know somebody's character.
Your dad was actually telling me a story about that, where this guy, he had to. He created this whole different environment. So like he had to go to work in this whole different environment so that he could have the excuse to be with this other family. So he had 2 families, 2 wives, 2 children. I can't remember. It's a story your dad was telling me. I didn't get all the details, but that was true. He had 2 families, and so the first wife, I think, found out. So went and confronted. I know, but it's hard
enough one wife and your kids. I'm trying to add to that, and then the balance of secrecy. You're mad. I'll be bored by the time I finish that. It's hard.
Trying to remember not to mix up names. Us with the grandkids.
In your dreams, you might just whisper something in the sleep. You just get.
Yeah, but even with the grandchildren, sometimes we're like, even with you,
I do it all the time. I call the kids.
Okay, but it's like, how do you even have separate, like, secret kids? That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I can't even imagine, like, how do you even? Like,
I think it's more common than we think. I think that the reality is we do live in a time where infidelity is so prevalent, and it's so
that's like
common.
Different to infidelity. That's like 2 lives.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, I can barely even drive down the road without these. So
but where does it start from?
You've had that mistress.
But there has to be a starting point. There has to be a point where, okay, you're married. Okay, you don't just like have children.
Unless it's from the beginning, you never really.
Like at some point, you've stepped out of that marriage and you have chosen to go and be unfaithful. Then to the point where you're literally like, and from my perspective, I'd be like, just leave me. Like, it's not fair. Like, don't drag me on your.
Yeah, I think honesty is the key.
Like,
here. Some women
I would just want to know.
Some women may rather know and figure it out if that's the case.
I think any normal woman would not be okay with that.
Yeah, but I would want to know. Don't put me in your web of lies. Like, I would rather know. So I can make an informed decision.
To create a whole life.
Yeah, but give me the opportunity to make my choice whether I want to stay in this with you or not.
Yeah.
But don't have me in that, because then you're going from one bed to the next. You're bed hopping. I don't know what you're catching over here. Yeah. I don't know who else you're bed hopping with.
Yeah, but how do they do that? Like, even just like spending half the year away from your partner.
Well, I spoke at a women's conference some years back, and that subject came up, where women were concerned because they said their husbands were in infidelity. They never admitted to it, but they knew that their husbands sleep around, and their thing was, what should I do? I said, well, you need to put your health first, because for me, if you know he's sleeping around, you don't know who he's going to pick up diseases from, and then he's coming back to your bed with that. So I said, if that's the case, that he's cheating and he's having extramarital affairs, then you have the right to protect your own body, because if he brings something to you that's now going to be life-threatening, don't stay in that place where you think, well, I've got to fulfill my wifey duties. Well, no, not if he's getting his things from somewhere else, from every other person that's willing to give it to him, you know?
I think as a woman you would know.
Yeah, but it's that denial that men do.
Yeah, but I think you can never be that caught up. I'm sorry. Like, human beings are human beings, and
some guys are pretty good at.
Some women too,
Yeah, women as well.
It's not just men.
In this day and age, the women are good doing at all that stuff. Yeah, and it's that.
And men are so clueless, but they're
well, sometimes you don't see it. Like, I had a friend who had like major.
I think sometimes you just have too much trust, in a sense, And when
I think if you're not looking for it, you're not.
Yeah, of course. If you've never had a reason to.
Yeah, because I had a friend. She had like major jealousy and insecurity issues. I didn't even see it. It wasn't until somebody else pointed it out. Then like, okay, that's why they like when we go somewhere like for a short haul. We've got one bag, you've got three, and it was where the competition, you look good, I'm going to go back upstairs and change. So those things were happening, and, we never thought anything of it.
Yeah, but sometimes I think a lot of women or men are completely blindsided. Like, I remember one of the parents that Ash used to go to school with, one of the mums, she was... in a marriage, and they had both worked together in the same job, and they worked for a property company, and then they basically set up their own property development company. It was doing really well, but then obviously they decided she was going to have children, so she was going to take a step back from obviously the business, and she was going to raise the kids. So he, over the years, you're talking about like 12, 13 years, she felt like she was secure. They actually never argued. They never argued at all. From her perspective, they had a really nice life. Their kids were in private school. They had a lovely home, new car. Like, everything on paper was, the ideal life. He just one day came home. What he'd done was he'd basically put all his ducks in a row and signed her out of the business.
Wow.
So he had basically got her to, he'd taken everything out of her name. He had basically set up with his PA that worked for him in the business, and then he literally just came home one day and said, I'm leaving you. And then he said, I'm selling the house.
Wow.
So she's like, obviously thinks everything's fine. And all of a sudden, her whole life is like literally flipped upside down because he's decided that he wants to move on now and he wants somebody younger. You've got 3 kids, bearing in mind, you know, that you're obviously raising. And she was so devastated because it was completely like, she was like, I just didn't see it coming. And I think her knee-jerk reaction was like, she started going to the gym, like she was like relentless in the gym because she was like, it obviously knocks your confidence because she's then like, you know, it's obviously something to do with me, like, you know, he obviously wasn't attracted to me. So she started going to the gym like every minute, and then it was like she then got like a younger boyfriend because obviously she just wants to feel attractive and feel wanted by somebody. And she put her foot down and said, you know, you can't take the house. Like, I've still got to raise the children. You know, it's not fair to uproot. Yeah, he was trying to sell the house as well. And he basically wanted to move on and start his new life. And basically have the kids sometimes. But he didn't want her to be a part of his life. And I just think, how do you get to the place where you just completely fall out of love with somebody? Like,
want to shut them off outside of it.
To be so cruel and so spiteful. I'm like, how do you get to that place? Like,
people gather resentment and
but I always ask that question. Like, you know, when people are like at each other and they're like, you know, like spitting hate at each other. I'm like, at one point, like you said you loved it, or you thought you loved this person so much that you were like, I want to spend my whole life with you. Like, how do you get to that place?
It's that selfishness. You know, it's that selfishness where you're not thinking about anyone else. And, you know, to any women listening there is nothing you can do if a man is going to cheat. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter. You could have the perfect figure, work out, you know, like an athlete at the gym. If a guy's going to cheat, he's going to cheat. And I say that to say, don't feel condemned or beaten up if that's happened to you, because that was in him to do that. And don't make excuses for his behavior, and don't accept that it was just, you know, obviously take care of yourself. But I find that most examples of this, if that man was going to cheat, you know, because there are guys that are around secretaries, that are around younger women, and they don't get involved. And so for someone like her, you've worked with him to build a business, and that he showed you who he really was. Unfortunately, she didn't see that before she got into that predicament, because if he had 1 ounce of feeling for her, he wouldn't be, when she's worked with him to build up that business that he now has.
There's a lack of communication somewhere. I think I don't know if it was you or Dad that's ever said this, but it's like, for me, I always see relationships as like a bank, in terms of you're always like investing, you're putting investment in dates and communication and time you're spending. I think when you can see that that's you will know if that's depleted or in minus, and when those things are, that's what gives room for those either lack of communication and you're building up things, or resentment. You know, I can't wait to not be married to you, or whatever, you're mumbling to yourself in your head or whatever. And people have these conversations with themselves, like, I can't wait till I'm in a position to whatever, move out or not be with you, and they mentally leave the relationship, you know? So even they could probably come home, hi, right, you have a good day, dinner, sit down, watch TV.
You're there brewing.
Yeah, it's just like they're in their routine. They'll come check in at their routine, do that, kids to bed, bed, sleep next to you, then go to work. If that's a routine that they're doing, and there's nothing in between, like dates, communication, actual quality time spent, that's probably a sign that you're leaving gaps for other things to enter their life. And, you know, what they don't get from home, or all it takes is one woman at work to say how they look today, or, you know, little things that they don't get at home. And these guys are like wide open.
And it's crazy the things that people would do if they meet someone else. It was a documentary. It was one of those true crime dramas I was watching. So this husband and wife doing really well. She's got her own business. She travels away for a couple of evenings for one of those. She's got some meeting in another state. This is in America. So he's with the children. So she comes back home. So this is like from knowing what happened, you know, because the whole documentary is about trying to unravel to get to the bottom of what happened. So apparently she comes back home and he kills her. So he's planned to kill her. So he murders her,
wow.
takes her, and I forget where he dumps her body. And then he takes his 2 children that's alive, and he throws them. You know, in America, they've got these things in the middle of a field. They're like these big tanks.
Oh, wow.
I think it's oil or something.
Those big
oil.
tanks.
But these ones had oil. And the children, he later confessed, the children is like, please, Daddy, don't. Please, Daddy, don't.
Gosh.
He drops them alive
How does
into
it get
this
to this?
deep tank.
Oh my God.
And so the police are so clever.
That's what I'm saying.
The police are so clever. They started going back through his life. They noticed he suddenly started gymming. So so they figured there's a woman. He's met someone. So he planned to remove that entire family so he could start again. So
but why not just leave the situation?
Why not just leave them? Just leave her. Just leave the kids.
You still ain't got the woman.
But he decides he wants to erase that part of his life.
That's so weird.
And start again. And I think they got through to the girlfriend, and she helped to like entrap him and get some of the information out. And he admitted at the very end about the children, like, Daddy, please. So he's thrown his 2 little kids into an oil tank thing. And they had to drain it.
Premeditated.
They had to drain it to get to their bodies. They had to drain those things to get to the bodies out. Wow. It's insane. Wow. And it's like, well, why don't you leave them? So he checked out somewhere. He checked out when he met a new girl, when he met a new woman. Yeah. So he becomes this serial mass murderer just to start a new life. But she married. She didn't have a clue that dark side was even in there, because that's not a normal thing, right?
It's not a normal thing.
So that darkness must have been in him.
Yeah, but I feel like when you're in a relationship and you see glimmers of things, I think you really have to pay attention. Yeah. Like, I think if somebody's spiteful, I think being spiteful is, I think that's the tip of an iceberg.
Yeah.
I think if somebody could just become cold just like that,
that's scary.
Think that is, where they can just switch off their emotions. I think that is a red flag.
This child done this to me one day. She was about 7 or 8, and she was sitting next to me, and she got hold of me, and she started pinching my skin. And she's looking in my face to see what. I was in so much shock. This little girl. Dominic's like, I slept. And I was so shocked that this child was so cold. I'm like, there's something seriously wrong with this child. She's like pinching me, but she's like looking in my face for the reaction for pain.
But I feel like everything has a root, and I think that as parents,
so it's like,
we have
you
to
get
monitor
that from as a child?
Our children's behavioural patterns. At the end of the day, like, if you see things like the other day, I think yesterday, Noah bit Jerome's stomach. They were just play fighting.
Noah bit. Can we clarify how old Noah is?
Noah's like 13 months.
Just so you don't think he's a big
obviously
boy.
He's just getting his teeth through. So it's like
trying them out.
Just experimenting what they do. But obviously straight away, like, Jerome smacks him because it's like, no, so you're not going to do that. You're not going to be that child. Well. No, but you're also not going to be that child that goes around biting people. You're not going to do that. Like, but that's the thing. I think everything. That's a really that's a small example.
Imagine how he cried.
Oh no, it's like the extra one. But it's everything starts from something. It starts from something small, it's and if you're allowed to be able to be spiteful, you're allowed to be horrible to your siblings. All of these things they say, like with serial killers, it usually starts from them hurting animals. Everything starts from something small. So a lot of behavioral patterns, if you track it back, has a root and it has a beginning.
And I think that's a problem today, isn't it? Because we don't have that environment where kids are being trained to manage their behavior, manage their emotions. I saw a clip of this woman at the airport, And she literally, a big grown woman, she literally threw down one of those hissy fits at like a 2-year-old, like literally stomping her feet, screaming, throwing herself on the ground, and just having this whole hysteria. And, you know, we see that, like you said, it's that behavior that you see with a 2-year-old. Yeah. Do you leave that 2-year-old to keep, and this is what we're seeing, a generation that doesn't know how to deal with those naughty behaviors. And so that child grows up and that behavior doesn't go away because they become an adult. It now becomes a place where I couldn't manage my emotion there. No one showed me how to manage my emotion and navigate through what I'm feeling. Now I've taken this into adulthood. Now I'm a grown up. What's that going to look like? Well, how's
and
that
also a lot of behavioral patterns are learned behaviors. So, for example, if you've seen it in your parents, or like, so for example, a lot of men that are unfaithful to their spouses have seen it in their fathers. So a lot of the times it's actually learned behavior that actually they say that a lot of abusive men have actually seen it happen to their mom or something like that. So I think it's also we've got to get to a place where, you know, if we have maybe been exposed to things growing up, like I'm going to be the one that changes that narrative, for my family. I know, for example, with Jerome, my husband, he grew up in a single parent home. His parents were divorced, and, you know, he hadn't seen a model of what a healthy marriage looks like. That hadn't been shown to him, that hadn't been modeled to him. And he had to make a decision and a choice that actually, you know what, it stops with me. Like, I'm going to be the one that changes it for my family, because at the end of the day, like, it's just then can become this pattern that just keeps on going and it keeps repeating itself. And in fact, he's like one of the only ones in his family that's married. And, you know, such a testament to him for his family, because they're like, oh, wow, like we've never seen this before.
Yeah, wow.
You know, and I think that
the child showing you.
Yeah, but a lot of the times that's the reality. Like, it has to be that you make the decision that, okay, like, I'm going to be where it stops. Like, it doesn't matter what's happened with my parents or my grandparents or my great grandparents. Like, it stops with me. Yeah. So if it is infidelity, if it is, you know, where you've seen like a double life, like with your family, or whatever it is, or anger being portrayed in the home, like whatever that looks like, you've got to actually be like, okay, you know what, it stops with me. Because all that's going to happen is you're going to then put that into somebody else, you're going to put that into your children, and then the cycle just continues. Like, and at the end of the day, like, I think it's our responsibility as parents to make sure that what we're putting into our kids, we're actually giving them the best opportunities, and we're giving them the best chance. Because, you know, like, I know, for example, like, we're raising my children, that there's this fundamental things that, like, I want you to be a nice person, like, I want you to be kind, like, I want you to be compassionate, like, you shouldn't walk past somebody
in an asset to society.
Like, I don't want you to walk past somebody in the street, whether they're homeless or whatever, and you see somebody in need and it doesn't move you. You know, at the end of the day, like, it's got to be that actually you are an asset to society, and it's not just about you, and you're not just consumed in yourself, that actually you learn to care about other people. And I think you can start that at a really young age.
It is, because that was something that was in the forefront of my mind. I never wanted my kids to be a burden on society. And for me, it was important that you guys were an asset, not a burden. What does a burden mean? It means that everywhere you go, it's awful. Other people have to tolerate bad behavior because I never did my job properly. From going to school, why should the teachers suffer because I don't do my job properly? Now you're not pleasant to teach, you're not pleasant to be around. And so it's that decision we make from the home that we want our kids to be an asset, not a burden on society. I didn't raise drug dealers, I didn't raise convicts. You know, that was never my intention growing you up. That was going to be your story. So we make those decisions, and you put the boundaries in place that you respect people, you respect authority, you have manners, and you don't steal, you don't do crime, you know. And that was never going to be our story, because it was an intentional thing that I had in my mind raising you guys.
What's that quote about grandparents and it's like, if you raise your kids, what is it?
I saw that this week
something
sometime.
But if you if you don't raise your kids properly, then you end up raising your grandkids.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I saw that this week.
I can't remember how it goes, but it was a good story.
Yeah, if you don't raise your kids, then you'll end up raising your grandkids because the kids won't be there, they'll be inside, and then you end up having to look after their children.
And that's a lot of people's story, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it is. We saw that from young with obviously the girls growing up in church. So obviously their parents probably do that now.
There's a lot of people
raising your grandchildren, and you know that it's great having. We love having the grandkids around, but you want the mum and dad there.
But also there's a role that a parent plays, you know, in a child's life. You know, a grandparent is a grandparent, a parent is a parent. And
two different roles.
It's two very different roles, and I think, you know, the way that God made it is that it's to be mother and father, like, because a role that, you know, having raised Ashley as a single mom, like, it's, you can do it as best as you can, but the reality is that there's only so much that you can do. You know, it takes both. And you see the difference. Like, I see the difference now, like, in our home, like, where there's both parents present. Like, you know, for some things, they'll come to me. For some things, like when it's rough and tumble on the floor, it's Jerome. Like, but you need the balance of both. And it's, you know, there's an authority that a father carries that a mother doesn't. You know, and as much as I can tell them what to do, and obviously they have to listen to both, but there's an authority that a father carries. And I think it's just a really sad time where, you know, kids are being raised in such a fatherless generation. And I think it's, you know, I was reading, I think on Sunday, there was it's like a pre-Notting Hill Carnival event. Did you see that?
With that young
where there was a 15-year-old boy that was assassinated in broad daylight in front of children and families, where they said it's a postcode war, whatever that is.
A postcode war.
So basically, if you live in
one
W9 and I live in W10, then you can't.
Yeah, there's an issue.
You basically can't cross over, and
so
it's
that's why he was killed.
A full-on assassination in front of everybody. I'm like, how do you get to the place where your children feel like, how do they become so senseless? Like, how do they have such a disregard for life? Like, how is that a world that we're growing up in? Like, as a parent, you felt that child.
Is that the one where there was an ambulance and everything?
Probably.
Is that the one in Notting?
Yeah, it's in Notting Hill.
Yeah, that's the same.
It was on Sunday, and I was just like, and I think for me, having a 19-year-old black boy, a black boy child, like it just makes you really sad, because I'm like, that's.
But it's not just the boy. I mean, yes, it's really sad that there's a young person that's been cut off in their prime, but it's more than one, because now whoever done it.
They've arrested four other young men between, I think, the ages of like 19 and 21.
Changed. Their life is going to be
because their parents didn't do their job. And I think
what
they
are they
going to
encounter? Because yes, you've committed a crime. Now you're going to go to court. Now you're going to go prison. But now who are you going to meet in prison? Because they're not even thinking about that. Who am I going to meet in prison?
It's the cycles that just keep going. It's like we said with the infidelity thing. Like, it's a cycle. And unless you're like, okay, do you know what? I'm going to do something different. So I'm sure if their parents, the parents of that boy, had been like, you know what? Raising a child in this area, we're not going to get the best outcome.
But you know what, Danny? There's a lot of people today I find are ignorant. They're very ignorant. You can't even tell them about the way they're raising their kids. I remember my mum tells me this story all the time about this girl with her child, and the child was throwing a tantrum and misbehaving, and I think she started crying. She couldn't cope with this child, and my dad, being himself, went over and fast himself in people's business, and the girl, I think she cussed him. And she's like, did you help me make him, or something like that? You know, in other words, mind your own business. And it's just that there is this ignorance, and it's where you can't challenge a lot of these parents when it comes to their children and tell them how to raise them. If their kids are misbehaving, they will defend the bad behavior rather than say, you know what, I'm doing it wrong. You know?
How's it for you, Dom, raising 4 boy children?
You know, everywhere I go, I feel like this is just the icebreaker now. The fact that you even have 4 kids. Like, what? You got 4 kids? Oh, all under 4. Oh, all boys. Oh. But, you know, it's just that's my life, isn't it? It's what I'm used to, and I think it's. I think if it happened all at once, it'd have been a very different story.
Yeah, but do you feel like you have to be that more intentional because they are boy children?
Yeah, 100%. And this 4 different personalities I'm dealing with. So, there's one that's, a bit more of an introvert. There's one that's a bit more emotional. There's one that's a bit more violent. It's like
from the description, I know
exactly who I'm talking about.
Luca's emotional.
No, Luca's introvert.
Luca's the introvert. Case is emotional. Yeah, and the bully one is me.
And Luca, and you have to look at it from all the aspects of where they're coming from, right? So it's like for Miko, like his thing is like he had a biting thing as well, but with his brothers. But it's like, for him, it's like he's trying to fight to be on that. Place, but obviously they're stronger and bigger than him.
Yeah.
So his little thing is sometimes he hits them and bites or whatever, which he gets smacked for. But it's like, he verbally, he can't be like, I want that, that's mine. Like, he still learns to talk as well,
And I think that with a lot of children, that's what I've learned. With Roman, it's the frustration of when they can't communicate what they're trying to say.
He can speak in certain things, but it's like, what he's trying to get across is not coming in time. So I know that's his struggle right now. Case just needs a lot of love. He needs like hugging and I think it's same as marriage as well. It's like when you understand your person, life is a lot easier than if Case is crying, if I just keep smacking him, he's gonna cry more. It's not gonna benefit anyone, is it? Like Case needs that, reassurance, wherever it is, and it's just knowing how to look, they're all different little people, and you've got to manage them different ways. There's not a one size fits all for them. So
interesting to find what Cohen will be like.
Oh goodness, I'm hoping he's just
calm,
the peace,
the one that's stuck in his books or something. I ain't got one of those yet. I need one of those. But
Case likes his books.
Yeah, Case likes reading. He likes
makes me read the same book
Caterpillar,
like 100 times.
Case, they all like books really. They all always want to read a book at night and in the day. So, but it's just catering to whatever their needs are. Life is a lot easier when you just you focus on what they're happy, they get their time with you, and it's you're not as frustrated.
How do you think? What can you do now that's going to prepare them to be that person that's strong, that's going to be a great husband, going to be a great father, that's going to be an asset to society later on, knowing that what kind of world that they're growing up in?
You can only show them better than you can tell them. I think they have to see that modeled with you. They're not everything they're going to remember, but there'll be imprints of things you've done that they will copy or that they take throughout life in their journey. And you never know when that is, so you always have to sort of be setting that example. I think the same way Dad was me, teaching me how to open doors and all that stuff I do now. I still do that now. Like it's not even like a second thought to me. And teaching them, I've got 4 boys. So I have to obviously teach them a lot of things, how to respect women and how to manage themselves around women. As time goes, they get older.
I saw Miko's pictures with that girl.
Yeah, like kissing on the lips.
Romeo.
I know there's going to be a lot of dynamics. Are going to be very different to how you as us 4 boys is. Got to put shutters on the windows and stuff so they're not sneaking no one in. But it's going to be a very interesting journey throughout life, I think. Yeah. From now till when they're in their late 20s. Till
they're married off, then you can I've
got plenty of stories. Plenty of stories. But I'm excited for that phase, And
when they get hit teens and all that.
Yeah, and it is like I was telling you about my friend that his friend died abroad the other day, and I was just talking with him as well, and it's like you think in life that you picture yourself living when you're 18, your grandkids and stuff, but sometimes it's just like you don't know that when it's going to happen. And and one thing for me, I never wanted to be abrupt where they're unprepared as well. Like God forbid anything happens, you're in a car crash or something and it happens and nothing's sorted and this and that. Like I even said, like, I'd love to actually have a box that I have. Obviously, it's a bit too, I don't know if it's a bit morbid to even plan this stuff. But like, even just like a little video where I can speak to all of them, whoever it is, like just that they can watch back and they can remember me at that point. And I can be like, I've always believed in you in certain things. And, whatever you want to do in life, I'll always support you and things like that. And just having something where it's, even if it is a shock or even if they never use it, but to have that where they can see you and they go back to that. Because my friend is like saving voice notes for the guy's kids for them to listen to when he's like, because his voice they might not know. because his son, he died in I don't know if you saw that news abroad. And basically he's got 2 sons, and his son's like a really good footballer, and he's like, yeah, man, if you focus on this, like telling my friend, so the son or the kids, it's about 10 and 7. So they're old enough to know, but so they've told them and things like that, and they're like, you know, I was like, I can't even imagine going through that. Even say that to 10 or 7 that you're never seeing your
dad again.
It's like,
and didn't get to say bye.
Yeah, literally, it's like, I don't even know if they even know how it happened, but the fact that they can read up on this in the future and see these things. This is the era that we're in as well. So yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just trying to make sure your kids get the best chance in life and raise the best way they can, really.
And I think we've got to take responsibility for that. That actually it's our duty and it's our job to make sure that our kids have the best start.
Exactly.
And I think it starts in the home. Like, I think that when you have a peaceful home, your children are going to be a product of that. Like, I think that you can always tell the children that have a happy home. Like, you can always see it in children. Like, they're happy, they're carefree. Like, and having, like, as someone that works, you know, in children's ministry, like, I get to see all sides of the spectrum. Like, and I see when children are burdened and it's heavy for them, you know, because they don't have the emotional capacity to process or to know how to deal with that. And I think as parents, like, if that is your story, like, it's your duty and your responsibility and you owe it to your kids to actually create an environment for them that they can just be children. And I think that, you know, I see it so many times where you're literally crippling the kids and it's literally it's doing so much damage, and unfortunately you probably won't see what the extent of that damage until they're much older. And I think that it's just it's really our duty as a parent to actually give them the best chance, give them the best environment, give them the best life. And you don't need to have loads of money to create lovely memories for your kids. Like, you don't have to travel with them. You know, some people can do that, other people can't. Like, it's, you can do simple things at home, you can create memories at home, you can start new traditions at home. Like, it can be something very, very simple, but actually it's imprinting. You're imprinting.
Well, it used to be, you know, back in the days, you always remember, boys would always remember their dad taking them fishing or camping, you know, so there was something that the dad did with them, you know, that quality time. So I think
that same way I take them out for walks and stuff. And but I also saw like a video today, actually, where this guy was saying, you know, his son came to him with a broken toy, and he's like, "Oh, daddy, my toy's broken." Then instead of saying like, "Oh, give it to me, I'll fix it," he just put it in the bin, and his son's face was like a bit like sad, like he's gonna cry. I said, "What do you want me to do?" So he took it out and said, "Okay," he said, "You fix it yourself, you figure it out." And like, you know, half an hour later, he done it, and he's like, "Daddy, look." He's like, "Oh, how did you do it?" And he's like, "Oh, I put this screw on this and that." So not only is that showing them like how to, instead of something that's broken, you get rid of it, you figure out how to resolve the issue. And I think that's a very good lesson. Because even me, sometimes it's like something's wrong, I just do it just to get it fixed for them, whatever. But there's a lesson in that there's moments that you can find. Because life's not going to be where someone just fixes the issues for you.
It's true.
Or just turns around and puts it back to however you want it. You got to find sometimes the way around the issue and get the answer you need, that you want.
That's good, because we live in a generation today that doesn't. Everything is
they get what they want or instantly. And
I remember teaching a group of women how to sew a button. They didn't even know how to sew a button, or they didn't know how to sew. They didn't have to even. Let's go back a bit. They didn't know how to thread a needle.
Well, that's the things I haven't really taught anyone.
I said, so what do you do with your clothes if you get a rip and you know what?
Throw it away or dry clean it?
They said they throw it. I'm like, wow, you know. I said back in the day, we used to have to learn to sew up our husband's socks. You know, when it made a hole.
Gosh,
people never got through things away like that. You keep darning it. But this generation is like they've not been given the skills, and that is really, you know, back.
And that helps with mental health as well. Even like you don't know how to process things.
Well, everything is a skill, because if even it's simple, but we were taught skills, and it made you figure out how to do things rather than, like you say, look, throw that away. Let's go and find one that's already done. You actually don't even realize you're picking up skills, because it's like, where did I learn to sew? Where did I learn to knit? Where my mum would sit me down with her and I would do it with her.
Even like when it was Gran and Granddad and we're doing crosswords and solving those little issues, even that just teaches you like patience and there's things that even like help me with spelling as well in school because I was really good at English. But it's like there's little lessons in those things where it takes time to. Obviously, it's a different era, but now they want everything instant. It's like those things teach you to find what you're looking for and navigate with patience.
And mentally cope.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think the reason we're seeing...
Slow your brain down.
Now we're seeing the fruit of where those skills have been reducing, that now people find themselves, I'm grown, I'm an adult, but I've not got any coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And so we lash out, we want to hurt somebody to the extent of taking someone's life because I haven't got any coping mechanism. Because the other day we were talking about the guy that killed that presenter is the wife and the two daughters. Because somewhere you've lost control of coping mechanism or you never had it.
Remember you said his brothers killed someone as well.
Yeah, so his brother was in prison.
Something was missing in that childhood.
Yeah, something's missing.
Yeah.
So where do we go back to? And I think the best thing that we can do, the most fair thing, I would want my parents to. And you growing up as kids, you think, that's being hard, because we were told we had to clean our room. We weren't allowed to. Even on a Saturday, we were at school Monday to Friday. But on a weekend, Dad would come in and tell us to get out of bed.
Well, we actually started doing that with the kids. We done it this Saturday, but gone.
We weren't allowed
we were like, right, TV off. Everybody's tidying up. Even Noah was tidying up, putting the toys away. Roman was tidying up because it's teaching them.
It's coping mechanisms.
How are you going to learn if no one ever teaches you?
Yeah, but we didn't understand it. If you play with it and you make
a mess, then...
Just because I didn't understand it as a child doesn't mean it's wrong. And it doesn't mean we throw it out. And just because I hated it, it doesn't mean you stop doing it. We didn't like doing the chores. I remember me and my brother used to complain, like we totally disregarded the fact that our parents would go to work to put food on the table and clothes on our back. This is so unfair. We'd be like griping. They never wash up. It's always us.
But then it's like, how do you even learn how to do those things? That's the reality. Like, you don't teach them. Like, I take them into the laundry room with me. They, they're fascinated with the washing machine.
Remembers you were a little boy, and I said to you, go and wash your underpants in the sink. Do you remember?
No, I don't
and your dad's like, why are you making him do that? Because I made the girls. I used to make you lot do that. Yes, I've got a washing machine, but I wasn't trying to let you do your laundry. It would be just
basic skills.
It was just that basic skill.
Even taking the food shopping in from the car, like we make sure they carry food, put it away when they can.
But it was that we used to have to, as kids, Mum used to give us a shopping list. And we didn't have no car. It was those granny trolleys. And we before that it was like carrier bags. By the time you got home, when the bags make your hand, our hands were red raw, and our little shoulders were coming out the sockets, and we had to go to the high street and do the grocery shopping, come back home, bring the bags home. They never went nowhere. We had to wash up on a Saturday. We cleaned the house. We had to dust, polish, vacuum. Saturday was a chore day. We knew that. And the sooner we got it done, there was a reward. We'd get pocket money. We could go to the sweet shop and buy a comic, a Bunty or... Beano, those comics and your sweets, and you could come back and relax for the rest of the day. But it was like the quicker you got your chores done, but it was that coping mechanism that helps us, because I'm thinking if that wasn't imprinted into me from a child, how would I have coped as an adult? How would my marriage have fared? Would I have thrown that away because I just did not get the coping mechanisms? How would I have coped as precious coming, in life? And that, when I look back and as we're talking about it now, it was those skills, that coping mechanism that and the responsibilities and everything and the rules in the house that we were given. You couldn't watch TV unless you finish your chores. You couldn't lay in. There was no such thing. Saturday, probably Sunday was the most lay-in day, but you still had to be up at a certain time of the morning. It wasn't no afternoon thing, whereas this generation, people sleep till whenever they feel like getting up, and there's no pressure.
Because everyone's work from home now, innit? You can just roll out of bed and put a tie on.
Yeah.
But we're out of time.
We're right out of time. Gosh.
Thank you guys for another episode.
Hope you got something.
Listening. And please message us on Instagram or email us or YouTube. Any questions or topics you want us to talk about, we're open to talk about anything.
And be sure to go onto our YouTube and watch the full program. Instagram is just clips. Go to our YouTube page, watch the full program, and be sure to like it and post your comments or what you'd like us to talk about. So we'll catch up with you next week. Have an amazing, amazing week.
Thank you, guys.